I'm Dave Ford and this is Logan the Whippet. This is the second video that we're doing on a series of walks in the New Forest, and today we're going to be doing a circular route starting and finishing in the small village of Godshill, which is located on the northwest corner of the forest a few miles from Fordingbridge. Now today, as well as some spectacular views, hopefully we're going to come across a cricket pitch in the middle of nowhere and even a World War II decoy airfield. So do join us. Are we ready? He's ready. Let's go. Come on, fella. We're going to be starting our walk right by the Fighting Cocks pub, which you can see over my left shoulder. Now the pub there was built in 1927 and it replaced a much older thatched property that had been around for a couple of centuries. Now it got its name, the Fighting Cocks, from the fact that there was indeed a cockfighting pit in the vicinity. Now I've passed this road on a number of occasions and I'm just going to turn the camera around. I have always presumed that this is where the actual pit was. As you can see, there's quite an indentation in the ground. In fact, in the winter it gets full of rainwater and becomes quite a good watering hole for livestock. However, as I was just walking over from the pub, I did notice, I don't know if it's going to come across on the camera, but it's a definite man-made, well, I presume it's man-made circle, almost looks like a donut. It's only 8 paces across, but well, I wonder if that was the old cockfighting pit. Intriguing. Well, if anyone's got any thoughts, put some comments down. So we're now going to head westbound, heading up onto Godshill Ridge. Now rather than you listen to me puff away, we'll see you at the top. Bit out of breath, but we've made our way up to the top of Godshill Ridge. Had a lovely little meander up. We've come to our first view of the day. I'll just turn the camera around. Isn't that gorgeous? Got a little friend New Forest pony in the front, but just looking over, we're looking south. And that's Hampton Ridge over in the far distance, where Logan and I did a walk in a previous video. And just panning around, I don't want the sun to get directly in your screen. The trees in the far distance is part of Pitt's Hill Wood, which was established in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And the valley down there where the trees are, that's the end of Ditch End Bottom, and there is a small stream that goes through. We're filming, what, middle of August now, so the stream's probably dried up this time of year, but isn't that beautiful? It's very peaceful, filming quite early in the morning, so hopefully the colours will be coming out. And the pony happily grazing away. As I say, I could stay here for hours and just watch this, but we've got more of our walk to do. I thought I'd come off Godshill Ridge and down into the valley and just give you a different perspective of some views looking north. So I'll just turn the camera around and hopefully the sun will give you some excellent lighting. So the little brook, that's Ditch End Brook. I thought it might have been dried up. In fact, we have had a little bit of rain over the last few days, so normally in the winter that will be quite a raging torrent. So there we are in the background. You can see Godshill Ridge, which is where we've been walking along, and we'll be going back up there shortly. And there's absolutely gorgeous view. Some oak trees in the background, panning round Hampton Ridge. I'll be very careful. I don't want the sun to get directly in the camera, so I'll just see the edge of Pitts Hill enclosure. But you can hear the birds in the background. A little bit of wind, hopefully that's not coming through on the audio. Absolutely stunning. Right, I've got to go back up there now, so I'll see you in a minute. We've been enjoying a lovely little walk along some paths, gorse either side of us, a little bit of heather, some blackberries, but the New Forest always keeps coming up with the odd surprise or two, and we've got one just here, because all of a sudden, in what appears like the middle of nowhere, we have a cricket pitch. What a quite idyllic setting for a little sporting arena. I say, it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. There is a road that passes by, but I can't see any houses. And as you can see, they put up this metal fencing around the actual wicket area to keep that safe from roaming livestock. But quite beautiful. The only observation that I would make is if I was playing here, I'd want to be careful diving for a catch. There's a heck of a lot of pony poo lying about. I guess it's somebody's job on match morning to clear that up. But there we go. Slightly unusual. So we're carrying on. There's this little plateau on top of Godshill Ridge, and I've got some beautiful views either side, and when we get to the end of the ridge, hopefully we should have another glorious view to look at. Well, we've just come to the end of our walk along Godshill Ridge. We're just by Ashley Walk car park, and another stunning view to look at. Let me show you. So again, far distance, that's Hampton Ridge, and then coming across again, there's the Pitts Hill enclosure, and then the hill there is Cockley Hill. I won't pan round too much further because I'll be looking directly at the sun, because we're looking directly south. So it's the valley again there. It's called Ditch End Bottom. Then it becomes, they've got some terrific names around here, and they do like their bottoms. It becomes Stone Quarry Bottom, and then eventually it becomes Black Gutter Bottom. Brilliant. And just over that far ridge is where they used to practice in the Second World War with the bouncing bombs of Barnes Wallis fame. Indeed, this whole area, we're just on the edge of Ashley Walk, was indeed a bombing range for the 5 years of the Second World War. Pleased to say it's all back to peace and quiet now. But about, well, just over a year ago, I acted as a guide for a guy called Richard Vobes, known as the Bald Explorer. And we came here and did a series of 4 videos where we explored and investigated artifacts and looking for remains of the targets from that bombing range. So if you're interested in finding a little bit more about that, then look up his website, thebaldexplorer.com. Isn't that beautiful behind me? The sun is just behind a cloud, so I might just do another little pan around. There we go. Again, this beautiful purple colour coming through from the gorse and the heather. Quite atmospheric this time of the morning as well. Okay, well, we've seen enough of the south. We're going to go over the road and see what sort of views we can see on the north. We've just crossed over the road that goes along the Godshill Ridge. That goes from Fordingbridge to Bramshaw, I think. I'm going to have a look at the northern side. We've just come across this little path and flanked by trees both sides. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see this view as I'm going to see it as I come through. So a nice little bit of shade at the moment. And suddenly we've come out into this open area, and very shortly we're going to have this quite stunning view. How about that? The trees in the far distance are part of the Godshill enclosure, and that's where we'll be heading very shortly. The valley below is called Millersford Bottom, and there's a brook that goes along right at the bottom, and we'll be crossing that as well very shortly. Actually, just as I'm passing by, look at that. I don't know if the berries are coming through on the camera. It's a rowan tree, I think. That's a sure sign that autumn is on its way. And again, really beautiful purple. That's gorse rather than heather. But what a gorgeous view. Ponies in the very, very far distance. Talk about animals, I know I mentioned ponies and cattle, but there's other wildlife on the forest, of course. Birds, woodlark and Dartford warbler, very common. And the geology around here, okay, the top layer is gravel, but it's sand underneath, so it's a very good area for reptiles. Turn around. So you do get a few snakes, grass snakes, the odd smooth snake, although they're quite rare, to be honest, and of course adders. But I usually walk on the forest most days of the week, and I'm lucky if I come across a couple of adders a year. They keep themselves to themselves. But beautiful. I can't stand around here all day. Well, I could, but we've got to finish our walk. So we'll see you down at the bottom. Come on, Logan. Well, we've we've made our way down to the bottom of the valley, and we're going to do a little exploration to see what's here. We're coming out of that glorious sunshine into some shade. We've got a lovely little bridge which we shall go over, and a lovely little brook with a swing by the looks of things. I'll give that a miss. It's quite noticeable how brown the water is, and also the bottom. I guess that might have something to do with the fact that further upstream there's some ironstone. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but quite idyllic. And this stream will eventually make its way into the River Avon. And just to clarify, because there are quite a few River Avons in England, this is the one that flows from Wiltshire through Salisbury and then makes its way down to Christchurch Harbour, I think, where it goes out into the English Channel. So we're now going to, the only downside of going downhill is you normally then got to do an uphill bit, which is what we've now got to do. So just going to turn around. Although there's a little bit of a marshy bit there, fortunately there's a nice track to the left, and that's where we're going to head up and explore Godshill enclosure when we get to the top. And Logan is still sniffing around for squirrels. You haven't seen any yet, have you? Hey? Squirrels? Maybe later. And if he's lucky, he might get to see some blackberries. Anyway, see you in a bit. We made it to the top. So we're right by the edge of the Godshill enclosure here. It was established in 1810. Originally it was just oak and beech, but nowadays it's predominantly pine. But as we go along the side of it, and I'll turn the camera around, we've got a terrific range of different trees. So we've got a good old oak tree there. What have we got here? A little silver birch, holly in the background. Sweet chestnut. Well, that looks like an old-fashioned Christmas tree. And there's some normal beech I can see further in. Just over on my right we've got a crabapple tree. It's really noticeable this year how all the trees have got so much more fruit on them than normal, or nuts and what have you. It must have been a good growing year. Lots of ferns and brackens along the bottom. I love the way nature develops. Look at the way that branch has stuck out. That might make an excellent shade for a pony, wouldn't it? And let's have a really good look up here. What have we got? Let's put a lead down. There's a cone developing. I'm guessing that's a Scots pine, or it might be an Austrian pine. It's a pine. Absolutely beautiful along here. Now I do carry with me my pocket guide for trees. It's not much use when you leave your reading glasses at home. Old age, I'm afraid, old age. So we're going to carry along this little route here, and there's one more thing I want to show you before we finish our walk. Well, there's one more thing that I wanted to show you. This plateau that's in front of Godshill enclosure, back in World War II, was actually a dummy airfield, or decoy, for the RAF ISteady airfield, which was just 2 or 3 miles down the road. What they used to do at night time, they would get these airfield beacons and dot them around the place to make it look like a normal airfield lighting system at night. Whether it worked, who knows. There's no real evidence left now. You do come across the odd bit of cable that would have related to the lighting system, but that's about it. Very peaceful now. Now, I've let that pesky Whippet off. I've got to find him now. Logan! 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 Well folks, we made it back to the Fighting Cocks pub. We've had an exhausting walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. Hopefully you'll be joining us on another walk sometime in the future. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Cheerio.